Perfect. All right. Let's rock and roll. So, living to 100, I tell you where the title of this talk came from, and really the concept was that one day, I remember I was in Naples, Florida, as an intern, and just in general, especially during the winter months there's just a super high population of people who, um, just are elderly and whatnot. So I remember, I'll never forget this one day, this one guy came to our clinic as a new patient, and I was just out of school. So I was kind of fresh and extremely, excited, not a lot of street smarts, if you will. And I remember meeting with this gentleman and I was getting excited, telling him that I was going to be transforming his life and helping him live a longer life and all that kind of stuff. And the guy health was so bad that he's like, whoa, slow down, Sonny. He's like, I don't know if I want to live to be, 90 or 100 years old. And I didn't know what to say. So all I did was blurt out, well, what happens if you do? And he kind of looked at me like, what? And the point was that I was, thinking before I was saying before I was really thinking, but ultimately you have a choice. You could potentially live to be 87 years old and be in terrible health. I mean, you go to people full of, the full nursing homes of people like that. Or you could live to be 87 years old, amazing health, and you're still traveling, you're still spending time with your grandchildren or your great-grandchildren. And that's what this is all about. So I know there's some guests on here. So if you're a patient of mine, just, maybe you might learn something new about me, but this is really for the guests here who don't really know anything about me. I wanted just to kind of do a quick introduction. So I graduated from Life University, which is a health sciences university. I did that back in 2009. So it's actually coming up on 8 years here pretty quick. But it's the largest chiropractic program in the world. And it's just a great health sciences institution where I learned a lot of my foundational just information and knowledge. Immediately after that, I went interned with a doctor by the name of Dr. Chris Zano, who actually runs the largest wellness clinic in the world right in Houston, Texas. So from there, literally right out of school, I got my hands on just an insane number of people in a short amount of time and worked with every single case you could possibly imagine in a short amount of time. So I feel like my clinical experience in just a few short months, I literally got like 10 years of clinical experience just because we saw such a massive volume of people during that time. And then, and then around that time as well, right after that, I should say, went to Naples and worked in a basically like a residency program for wellness doctors and chiropractors. And trained with Dr. Greg Lohman, who's the co-founder of Maximize Living, and just really got to be an amazing training facility there. And again, just learn more and more about how to help people. So I founded my own clinic back in 2011, June 2011, we opened up. And I've been blessed that really within, I guess, 6 years, we already have the largest natural healthcare clinic in the city of Raleigh. And the second largest in the Triangle. And just in my 8 years of being graduated from school, I've been able to do 150,000 adjustments, which is just, I tallied it up the other day, and that was pretty amazing. So I'm also certified with Maximize Metabolics, which is the nation's largest customized nutritional testing program. So we do a lot of that in our office and do tests that medical doctors typically, actually medical doctors never do. And so to really help people get down to the cause of why they're having their problems in the first place, not just merely looking for a way to really just to treat their symptoms. I'm one of the official chiropractors for 6 Olympic teams, which is cool. So I'll be planning on going to Japan, the Japan Olympics in 2020. And just excited to be on here with you all tonight. So one thing here too is that, it's important to remember that be all in and invested in this next 50 minutes, okay? So, don't be on Facebook, don't be doing anything else. Like, you're here, you're giving me your time, you might as well get the best information out of it as possible. So just let's be super focused on that. This just disclaimer, I'm getting better at doing those, that since I'm not a medical doctor, legally I'm supposed to tell people that the advice I give them, which is of course backed by science and, more science than I could even add up, because I'm not a medical doctor. Anytime you are going to consider changing your diet or exercise or just kind of medical practice whatsoever, that you need to consult with your medical doctor first. So I just legally have to say that. So we'll just move right along. So some questions I want you to be pondering and thinking about to kind of get you in the right frame of mind here before I get into the meat of the information. Go through these in your mind and see if any of these apply to you. So have you been prescribed medications with no solutions on how to get off of them? It's common medical practice. Or you've been frustrated by the solutions your doctors have given you that just hasn't really led anywhere. Or maybe you currently don't take any medications, but you want to make sure that it stays that way. Right now you might feel stuck, or nothing you're doing seems to work. You really want to be healthy, but you just don't know how to do it, especially in the society that we live in. That you would be willing to make changes, but not sure exactly what direction to go in. And this would be on a positive note, that you can make quick decisions, and you can really just flip a switch in your brain to make changes overnight. That's really helpful. Doesn't mean that all the action steps have to be lined up, but at least you can decide, boom, yep, I need to do something differently. And then it's like, okay, now let me figure out what that actually looks like. So what I'm going to be covering tonight is the top 8 causes of accelerated aging, things that cause pain or a need for medication, fatigue, and a whole lot more. And these are really the top 8 things that would prevent a person from living to be 100 or to have good health as you age. So you're going to understand the things that you need to be removing in your body, in your lifestyle, and in how you're taking care of yourself to be able to just live to 100 years old or more. See, the thing is that the human body has been created and designed or evolved, or it doesn't matter how you look at it, it's all been studied and proven to be the same, to live to be at least 120, if not 130 years old. It's genetically programmed to accomplish that. So the only reason why we would not be able to make it there is because we're doing something along the way to basically mess it up, okay? So I'm also going to cover the one thing everybody needs to do, no matter what culture you live in, what race, what gender, to live to be 100 years old, to help to almost guarantee that. And then if you're a guest or not a direct patient of mine, I'll give you an opportunity to decide whether or not you want to become a patient of mine tonight. So imagine this, right? So imagine that, by the end of this webinar, you're going to feel confident knowing what to do, all right, with your health, and feel great every single day, because that's totally possible. Another major thing is we don't realize that you could literally save several hundred thousands of dollars over the course of your lifetime by not having costly medical bills. It's the number one cause of bankruptcy is medical bills in the United States. And so if you can avoid major medical crises, well, then your chance of going bankrupt or dying with no money or dying in debt is going to go way, way, way down with that. So, and really the key is to be giving you specific metrics, all right, things you can actually measure beyond just how you feel, because that's not a good metric, although we want you to feel good, to know, okay, how am I actually doing? So I'm going to talk about 2 of my favorite tests that I personally do on myself to know, again, how well my body is able to function. So I realize that those are some bold promises. I will do my part to hold up the end of the bargain on that. And so the question you just need to ask yourself is, are you willing to do what it takes to be able to make that happen? Because you ultimately, all right, have one of 2 options when it comes to your health and your longevity. You could either be on a cruise ship. Woohoo! I know a lot of my patients went on cruises last week. I'm jealous someone on cruises right now. Or you could be in a nursing home and have a life where you're waking up and having to face the number of medications that you're taking every single day and counting your medical bills and figuring out how you're going to pay all of those off. So health and longevity, it's literally cruise ship or nursing home. And it may not seem like it's that black and white, but it is really that black and white. The only thing gray in between that is to what degree do you want to experience health and vibrancy, or what degree are you going to allow your body to suffer and be sick, in pain, and do terrible. So when we look at the reality right now, 20% of Americans, so 1 out of 5 of you that are on this right now, there's, let's see, 30 people on right now, 20% of you are going to end up in a nursing home at some point during your life. And that's for me, that I'd rather be, almost dead practically than be in a nursing home, just from the experience I've had to spend in there. 1 out of 3 Americans over 80 are in a nursing home currently. Look at this. Nursing home costs $226 per day. So it's over $80,000 per year to be in a nursing home. That's why most people that end up in a nursing home die bankrupt or die with no money, because that retirement savings and everything is gone very quickly when it's 80 grand a year. 2/3 are women. Now, part of the reason why it's higher is because women tend to live a little bit longer, right? But again, just because, people are likely to end up in a nursing home does not mean that it has to happen. 44%, so almost 50, and I think this is numbers from a couple of years ago. I would be willing to bet it's higher now, but 44% of nursing home residents have suffered some type of physical or psychological stress, and 30% or 1 out of 3 nursing homes have been cited for abuse, or other health, other related infractions. So a very key point that I want to make tonight is that just because you are getting older does not mean you have to get sicker, or you have to be on more drugs, or you have to slow down, or you have to feel worse. Just because it is common for people to experience that, it is absolutely not normal for that to happen. It is not normal. Let me say that again. Just because something is common, just because it is common that as people get older, they get sicker, they're on more drugs, or they slow down, or they become diseased, does not mean that it's a normal thing. Just because it's common for Americans to get diagnosed with heart disease and cancer does not mean that is normal process of the human body. So our 5 essentials to maximize living, this is really our health plan that we use. And although these are general, if you will, we create customized systems and health plans for our patients to follow in our clinics, okay, in my clinic and in other Maximum Living clinics. So meaning that certain patients that come into our office might need heavier or lighter on these different topics based on where they are at with their health right now. But every single patient needs to be addressed, every single human being needs to be working on these 5 essentials here for quality life and healthy life. Where we run into issues is that we think that some of these are the 5 negotiables, right? Like, oh, I will take care of my nutrition, I will exercise, I will detox all day long, but I'm not going to work on a healthy mindset, and I'm not going to work on a healthy spine and nerve system. And then what happens is you still die or get sick, or you only take care of your spine and your nervous system and you don't nourish your body properly. And then it's just, you're not giving your body the building blocks. So I can tell you with extreme confidence that when we apply these 5 principles, these 5 essentials to a person that comes into our clinic, no matter what condition they have, the degree of success that they will have, and I'm even talking about people with cancer, people with autoimmune conditions, if they implement these strategies and continually work at it and improve, I have not seen a condition yet not heal, or a person not be extremely impressed with the results that they got by taking that under action. So when we talk about living to 100, what I did was I studied cultures all around the world that had, much like a very high percentage of people that lived to be 80 plus. So there's a tribe called the Hunzas in Africa. There's another sect of Japan called Okinawa. So the Okinawans have the highest percentage of people that live to be over 100 in good health than any other country in the world. There's another culture called the Abkhazis. There's many other ones there, but I kind of just took the generic or the common trends that they had, including that studying people that in America that live to be much higher than their peers. And here's the common things that I found. So successful cultures are people that live to be long and healthy. These are the common things. They all had mindsets that focused around not so much stress, because stress you can't really avoid, but they focus less on the stress in their life and more about how can they work on creating peace, because you can't remove stress from your life per se, but what you can do is you can focus on building and creating peace in your life. Everybody can do that. Even if you live the most stressful life whatsoever, you can figure out how to carve out 5 minutes of peace building activity throughout your day. They focus on slowing down and being decreasing their feeling of being rushed. They love their life and every aspect of it. And a huge one, they have great relationships. So they're really focusing on fostering and nourishing and building those great relationships. And, a quote by Aristotle, happiness is a sort of action. It's an action, okay? It's not a feeling. It is not it's not circumstantial necessarily. It's an action. It's something that you can do and you can create. From a nutritional standpoint, they all ate very simple and non-complex foods, okay? Meaning things that did not have a lot of ingredients on it. If your food is making noise when you open it or you receive it through a window in your car, I can tell you it is not healthy, okay? That's a simple rule right there. Eating live foods, so foods that are not dead, food that was alive either at one time or ideally it's still alive when you eat it, okay? Like vegetables and other ingredients like that. They eat very little sugar to zero sugar. Eat light, so not overeating, because that puts stress on your body. And then again, not eating packaged or processed foods. So, with food, the longer the shelf life of your food, the shorter. Yeah, it's a good quote. That's a good writer downer right there. Longer the shelf life of your food, the shorter. When it comes to live in mountain regions, so we're kind of lucky here. Most of the listeners are going to be from North Carolina, Raleigh area. We got mountains not too far from here, some hills, anyways. So the point is that their climate involves some level of stress. So even if you live in when I lived in Florida, like there wasn't the only thing that was incline at all was a bridge that went over the water, right? I mean, it's still about creating an environment where it's challenging you physically to some degree on a regular basis. So did a lot of activity that required high intensity energy. So it didn't mean that they were on the go all day long for that, but they did periods throughout the day where they were going hard enough where their heart rate really got higher. They were breathing heavy, okay, because that creates and stimulates change inside of your nervous system and your cardiovascular system. Of course, they were extremely active, not sedentary. They worked hard. And then there's just no concept of retirement in those cultures, meaning that, an Okinawan in Japan might literally work well into their 90s or even longer. Doesn't mean they might not going to put in like a 10 or 15-hour day, but they're still putting work into their community. And so, retirement, I mean, we all know the stories of people that they retire and they die very quickly because they're kind of their purpose, one of the major purposes in their life anyways, just goes away. Also, if you look at pictures of tribes and other countries that people that live a long time, their posture in general is very good. They're rarely hunched over unless they're extremely advanced in age, but in general, their senior population has excellent posture. And so, meaning their spines and their nerve systems are going to be highly functional, okay, with that. So that's a major thing. And as I would say, I personally, with my study of the human body and in clinical practice, the number one thing that person needs to have a healthy body and a long body is a healthy functioning nervous system, okay? Because you can eat all the healthy food in the world, but you can go an entire month without food. You can drink clean water, but you can also go days and even sometimes weeks without water. You can even go minutes without oxygen, but you literally would not be able to live for 1 second without a nerve supply. Slice your spinal cord in half, you are dead instantly, right? Slice the nerve going to your heart stops immediately, you die. So your nervous system, all right, and that's why we say turning your power on. Power meaning the power that is running your body right now is all controlled via your nervous system. So if you are not caring for your spine and your nervous system, I don't care how well you're eating, how much you're exercising, how healthy your thoughts are, how much you're detoxing, how how much you exercise, right? If your nervous system is not functioning well, your body is breaking down and you are dying no matter what you feel. So remember, lifestyle does not create function, all right? It supports function. Without proper function, it doesn't matter how good your lifestyle is, you will not live a long time. So I'm going to show a video here. And this is a video of an individual that got one x-ray on their neck every single year for 40 years, okay? And you're going to see a time-elapsed video. And this is a person that did not care for their spine. They did not get adjusted. They did not, consciously work on their posture. So I'm going to play it right now. You're going to see it start moving here. So you see the first thing that happens is that they lost that initial curvature in their neck, okay? And now it's actually beginning to collapse forward in the opposite direction. And then from there, you can see it's now the discs are beginning to degenerate. There's the spine is literally compacting and contracting. And now we're looking at a state here 40 years later of major arthritis, major degeneration. I mean, and this is like not fixable in a natural state. Okay, I'm going to show one more time because I want you to just see how it starts in a normal, healthy curvature. Now it's diminishing. Maybe they worked a computer job or they had a few fender benders or car accidents in between there. But the curvature is lost first, then it starts degenerating and breaking down and eroding. And so people will come into my clinic as a new patient all the time, and they'll ask me, well, and I'll tell them, you have arthritis in your neck, and they'll say, how did I get that? And it's like, well, let's go back 40 years or 30 years or 20 years ago, and let's start there, because it's not something that develops overnight. It's a chronic not caring for your spine. That's how you get arthritis in your spine, or in any joint of your body for that matter. And when you think about posture, right? I mean, you go to a nursing home right now, what is the posture of every single person home, right? And it's going to be hunched over. You can see the head's way in front of the shoulders right there. I've never been to a nursing home and saw someone there with good posture. I mean, every single person, I just literally Googled nursing home. And here's the picture. I mean, look at hunched over, rounded back, right? All of them have their heads sunken forward. They can't move very well. It shuts down their brain function. That's what happens. And so it all happens with degeneration in the body and not caring for it properly. Here's an x-ray, and I know it's a picture of an x-ray, so it's not all that easy to see, but you can very clearly follow it especially with my mouse here, that this person has scoliosis, okay? So this is Anne, a patient I worked with in a clinic I worked in Canada, and I requested to take her x-ray with me wherever I went because it was just very powerful. So when Anne was 15, when she was a teenager, she went to her pediatrician. They took an x-ray because they were seeing some curvature in there in her posture, and it was 15 degrees at the time. But the doctor at the time told her, we're just going to watch. We're going to monitor this and see what happens. Well, fast forward about 35 years later, when we took the x-ray of a new updated x-ray of in our clinic at the time, there was her x-ray. So clearly not addressing the problem and just monitoring it did nothing to slow it down or stop it. And I see this way too often, unfortunately. It just major damage. And I mean, you're not fixing that whatsoever. And her health is completely destroyed at that point. And so if you're wondering why you might have problems in your body, whether you're a patient or not a patient, it's like, well, yeah, how well did you care for your spine and your nervous system when you were 7 years old? Or how about when you were a toddler and an infant, right? And most people, the answer is, I didn't do anything whatsoever. Well, then, yeah, it's like if you hadn't brushed your teeth for 30 years, okay, no, we're going to find damage in your mouth, right? It's just law of how the universe works, is that in thermodynamics, their law, things are constantly breaking down unless you're reorganizing it. Now, these issues can be corrected, though, in most cases. And it's all about finding the cause of the problem, all right? Cause, that is the key word. The word for 2017 should be, I want to figure out the cause of my problem and correct the cause. Find the cause, correct the cause. Find the cause, correct the cause. And when you correct the cause of the problem, well, then guess what? The problem goes away. The symptom has a cause. So if you treat the symptoms, you're going to always treat the symptom for the rest of your life. But if you correct the cause of the symptom, well, then the symptom goes away. Now, here's another example. This is Lindsay, one of my patients, or our patients that, I've worked with. So this is her spine when she was young, okay? And so it was not full-blown scoliosis at that point. So there's another 15-degree scoliosis, okay? So going back again, she was 15 degrees around the same age right here. That's what it turned into. This girl's parents, they got her under care and they saw the value. She wasn't having any pain, no dysfunction, but she's got damage in her spine. And after 9 months of working on her, there was her new post x-ray. Pretty sweet, right? You can see it's now straight. So she never developed a major scoliosis in the first place. Now, when it comes to longevity, so there was a study done by a journal called Journal of Manipulative and Physiological Therapeutics. So it's a chiropractic journal, a physical therapy journal, an osteopathic journal. And they looked at chiropractic patients. They studied over 300 chiropractic patients that were over the age of 65. And these were people that had all received chiropractic care for 5 years or longer. And what they did was they compared that with a group of healthy citizens, so people that weren't taking at the time anyways lots of medications or had major medical problems like cancer or heart disease, but they weren't getting chiropractic care. Again, so they were kind of looking at people that were quote unquote healthy versus people that were healthy and receiving chiropractic care for over 5 years. Here's what they found. So the chiropractic patients spent 31% less money compared to the other healthy people for their health care, meaning less doctor's visits, okay, and they went 50% less time to the doctor. They, in general, had better health habits because, in general, a good chiropractor is going to kick your butt and make sure you stay on track with your healthy living, all right? They smoked less. I don't know of a link between getting adjusted and, smoking less, but maybe less stress, I don't know. And almost 99% believe that what they paid for that care was considered valuable or extremely valuable. And the chiropractic wellness patients also had 60% less hospital admissions, 59% less days hospitalized over those 5 years, right? 62% less surgeries, and 85% less drug costs. So clearly chiropractic care is a major advantage, not just over healthy older people, but, of course, over sick people in general too. So if you're a guest here on this line here, or you're watching this replay, all right, I want to give you the opportunity to be evaluated. If you're local, of course, in Raleigh or Durham or Cary, we can help you locally here. If you're not local and you're watching this, just you see my email on here, drgregbarnes@hotmail.com. I will find you a doctor that practices similarly to me in your area, because I'd love to help you out and get you plugged in with a good doctor in your area. But if you're local and you're watching this, I'm going to allow you to get a complete history, consultation, examination, and then all the x-rays that I need to do, which would normally be around $220. So our referral price in our clinic is $88 for that, okay? And so the first 5 people that email me at my email right here, drgregbarnes.com. All right. If you're committed to taking your health to the next level, working with me, and really just seeing your life transformed, the first 5 people that email me, you can just put consultation in there. I'll make sure I can get you that offer, and then I'll also that's literally my personal email. That's not like some robot or some staff member. That is my personal email, and we will start the dialogue and the conversation regarding how we can get you better, get you on the right path. And so I'm personally going to hand walk you through that process and help you get you scheduled. So if you're interested in that, email me, drgregbarnes@hotmail.com, to just put consult in the subject line, and I'll get back to you tonight or tomorrow and start figuring out when we can make that plan and process happen. Okay, so when we look at here now, and this is going to really get into some more meat, we're going to be looking at the things that cause you to age, accelerated aging, all right? So age faster. So here's the 5 kind of overview subjects, and I'm going to break them down to 8 different subcategories. So insulin resistance, which would mean your body's losing its ability to handle sugar or carbohydrates coming into your system. Oxidative stress. So that's going to be damage caused by free radicals. So if you can think of that as like internal rusting of your body. Inflammation is huge. Mitochondrial dysfunction. So mitochondria are the power plants of your cells. So they're how your body drives all of its energy systems. So if that becomes dysfunctional, if the power starts draining, then of course you're going to become dysfunctional. And then the integrity of your cell membranes, okay? Now what that will lead to, and these of course are going to be things that cause people to age faster, are going to be weight gain, cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and a whole host of other diseases. So here are the subcategories: vitamin deficiencies. And of course, I think, that would make sense that if you are chronically running on less nutrients than your body needs to not only just to get by, but of course to thrive, of course it's going to wear out faster, all right? So when we look at, here's your mitochondria, all right, that's that word I was talking about, that generates something called ATP, which is what your body uses for energy. So we do something in our clinic called a customized metabolic assessment. That's called, or CMA for short. So I'm going to be referencing that a few times over here the next 20 minutes. What that can do is we can actually evaluate how well your mitochondria, so basically how well your cells are making energy that you need to not only like move and have energy to like do stuff, but how well your body's literally working on the inside, okay? So symptoms of improper function in those mitochondria in your cells are going to be fatigue, weight loss resistance, so hard to lose weight. And think about it, if your body doesn't have energy, well, how does it have energy from normal metabolism, right? Being overweight or having something called metabolic syndrome, which is kind of like pre-diabetes, and a whole host of other things. So one of the major sources of those deficiencies is going to be a lack of B vitamins. So this is why both my wife and I pretty much every single day take a B complex, a B vitamin. Just because your body needs B vitamins, it's essential nutrients to drive all the cellular processes in your body. So B vitamins, literally, you name it, it works on it. So mood, sleep, brain function, DNA, so your genes being turned on and off at the right time, immune system, nerve system, adrenals, muscle tone, your heart function, blood sugar, concentration, memory. In fact, kids that have ADD and ADHD in general, we put them on high doses of B vitamins and they almost always do really well, even just with that right there. So it's a big one. So if you're having trouble concentrating as an adult, well, then B vitamins could be something that you're missing out on from that. So blood sugar imbalance. So it's great, irritability for one, for sure. But stress does it, not moving your body, consuming too many man-made fats, sugars, or refined carbohydrates, or if you have a diet that's low in fiber, which mainly would be your sources of vegetables, okay? That's going to be huge for that. Eating too many carbs leads to blood sugar. Damaging your spine causes your body to not adapt very well. Impaired insulin secretion, that kind of goes hand in hand with the chronic overconsumption of carbohydrates. So really it's bad diet, okay, that leads to that. And so if you're eating the wrong foods, well, your body's always having to counteract and really compensate for that. And it's going to damage and wear it out much faster. So this will lead to fatigue, energy drops. So if you tank energy, like you spike and crash, right? That's a sign of blood sugar imbalance, whether you have diabetes or not. Having mood swings, strong cravings for sweets, high blood pressure, cholesterol, heart palpitations can be a sign of blood sugar imbalance, headaches even as well, because of the damage that it promotes there. So you really just got to get your nutrition under control and get off the high doses of caffeine, alcohol, right, sodas, and getting the carbohydrates way down in your diet. So every culture that lived to 100, people that lived to 100 had low to moderate carbohydrate diets. Well, Americans in general have ridiculously high to insanely high levels of carbohydrates on a regular basis. So keep those down. Third one is inflammation. So, we can easily think of inflammation as pain, although which is accurate. However, inflammation evolves way more than just your pain, all right? Inflammation is it destroys your body, all right? So you might have inflammation in your joints, which is going to lead to arthritis, which will lead to pain and stiffness. You could have arthritis in your blood vessels, which is going to lead to cardiovascular disease, even if it's not causing pain, right? You can have inflammation in your brain, which is going to lead to Alzheimer's and dementia. You can have gut, which is going to lead to autoimmune conditions, right? So inflammation, most doctors actually have now agreed that inflammation is the root, or is not the root cause, but a root problem in every single disease that we know about with modern medicine. It's inflammation. So getting inflammation under control is massive for being able to live a long, healthy life. So again, I mean, you'll see a lot of these are going to cross over, but not all of them. So stress, inflammation. High sugar and carbohydrate intake, inflammation. Processed foods, inflammation. Consumption of artificial sweeteners, having too high blood pressure, poor memory, so not keeping your memory sharp, like meaning like not using your brain as much, leads to inflammation because it gets inflamed brain then. Smoking, toxins will do it. Again, damaging your spine also leads to inflammation. That's why damaging your spine can cause pain or stiffness or discomfort. Not moving your body, again, also causes inflammation because it causes things just to not be pumped through your body efficiently, so you get inflammation. Consequences: cancer linked to inflammation, heart disease, stroke, all inflammation. Migraines or headaches can also be inflammation. Joint pain, arthritis, weight gain, stress intolerance, meaning you can't handle stress. Diabetes, easier to have blood sugar imbalances, and also along with that, poor memory. Oxidative stress. So the easiest way to think of what the heck is oxidative stress? The easiest way I describe this. So when something rusts, okay, like a nail or anything metal, that is oxidation. Or when you like slice an apple and you leave it on your counter for 30 minutes to an hour and it turns brown, that's also oxidation. So basically it's the breakdown of something due to a biochemical process. So oxidative stress, so oxidation, for example, like in your skin, leads to wrinkles, tightness, tautness, shrinking, okay, right, cracking. That's oxidative stress on your skin on the outside. So people who look very, very, very young for their age, right, when you're like a lot of people, and I'm not bragging, I'm just saying, right, if we go back to, this is me. Yes, I am not in junior high or high school for that matter. I'm 32 years old, right? Okay. It's not a super recent picture, but it's not that long ago. But, with the aging process, so if you've ever met someone, you're like, oh, like you find out, like you see them, they look whatever, and then you're like, you find out their age, and you're like, oh my gosh, I would have thought you'd have been 20 years old, younger than that. They have low levels of oxidation in their body. Or contrary to that, if you see a person and then you find out that they're, let's say they're 30, but they look like they're 50, okay, or 40, and they look like they're 60, that means they have super high levels of oxidation. I know that was like all over the place right there, but I think you guys got it, okay? So oxidative stress is going to be the burden of free radicals in your body. So free radicals are unstable molecules that basically float around. They will bind to other cells and they will damage them. All right. They'll basically take them over. All right. They'll just mutate them. So to prevent free radical damage, our body uses a defense system known as antioxidants. So antioxidants, okay, right? Oxidant, okay, are going to be what counteracts or neutralizes oxidation. So things that are natural antioxidants would be, chiropractic care, natural antioxidant, exercise, organic berries like blueberries, organic cacao, coconut oil are all antioxidants. Some very potent antioxidants are going to be things like peppers, especially spicy peppers, interestingly enough. So spicy peppers have really high levels of antioxidants like jalapenos, habanero, things like that. Very high levels of antioxidants in there. So what causes oxidative stress? Because again, it's all about cause, because if you just take a bunch of antioxidants, but you're not removing cause, well, then you're just spinning your wheels. So toxins, cigarette smoke, medications, probably a huge one, preservatives in food, dehydration, not drinking enough water leads to oxidative stress, excess sugar, that one's going to show up pretty much in every single one. Processed foods, damaging your spine, okay, or living near power lines or waste dumps. So power lines are huge. Also, electromagnetic pollution from cell phones, Wi-Fi that's on in your house all the time, especially while you're sleeping, right? All those things are really bad, all right, and they cause oxidative stress. So here's just a little medical diagram that somebody in showing how different systems of your body, when they're under free radical and oxidative stress, how that manifests. So for example, if your skin, right, you get aging, sunburn, psoriasis, dermatitis, which is inflammation, melanoma. In your kidneys, you get renal issues, nephritis, and more inflammation. In your joints, you could get rheumatoid or osteoarthritis or psoriasis. In your lungs, breathing issues, asthma, allergies, cancer even. In your brain, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, ADD, right? So you're going to see that this is a major issue in conditions and diseases for like across the board, okay? So that's why inflammation also and oxidative stress here go very hand in hand. With toxicity, all right, that's going to come from exposure to environmental toxins, household toxins, using too much plastic because they leach materials into your food and into your water, drinking unclean water because you're made up of 60 to 70% water. So if you're putting in toxic water into your system, even if it's just only slightly toxic, right, it's going to create an issue over time. Using too many medications. Medications are a toxic substance, okay? Which is why if someone swallows too many drugs, they call poison control, which is what's poison control? It's toxic, evaluation. Smoking, excessive alcohol intake. All right, again, you see a lot of these crossover here. Personal care products are a big source of a person's toxic burden. And then also like more environmental stuff, which would be like pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers, fungicides, Roundup, right? Glyphosate, things that are sprayed on our food supply, massive toxic load from there. So common consequences of toxicity are going to be skin issues because the body will always try to detoxify out through the skin, get bad body odor, bad breath, hormonal imbalances, big time issue there. Your vitamin levels drop because your body, when it's trying to detox, will burn through its resources of, B vitamins, CoQ10, things like that. Toxicity can lead to depression and cancer. It burns through your antioxidants, so it leaves you even less likely to be able to detoxify on your own down the road, and it breaks down your energy systems as well. So in your body, your liver, excuse me, I took a sip and it got stuck in my throat there for a second. Your liver is basically the number one organ that will assist your body in detoxifying. So when toxins are in your system or enter into your system, the liver is notified of that via your nervous system, which is why the nervous system is so important for detoxification, and why people even detox when they start getting adjusted, because it helps your body be more aware that it's toxic in the first place, right? So there's two different phases of detoxification in your body, and this is very powerful here again when we go into cause. Through the two-step detoxification pathway in your liver, if a person is becoming increasingly toxic, it can sometimes be because there's a lack of a nutrient or vitamin or mineral needed in order to help that body facilitate detoxification. Let me give you an example. So for phase 1 detoxification in the liver, all right, they found that there are specific required nutrients in order to make the process work normally, okay? So in step 1, for example, they needs B vitamins, folic acid, glutathione, milk thistle, carotenoids, which come from getting bell peppers, vitamin E and vitamin C. So for example, if we run a test on someone and we find out that their phase 1 detoxification pathways are impaired, so meaning it's not proceeding to step 2, well, then guess what? We have an easy fix, and we can address the cause of why they're not detoxifying. If it moves through phase 1 properly or mostly fine, then it moves to phase 2. But again, we can find out through testing if there's having a problem with phase 2 detoxification. Well, then again, it's a different, you see there's different needs. So at that point, now it needs amino acids. It means glutamine and taurine and cysteine, okay? It's different types of phytochemicals that are sulforaphaded, okay? So like from like, they need more garlic and cruciferous vegetables, right? It's pretty cool stuff. So now you can actually get down to a person like, well, why am I toxic? Well, step number 1, let's figure out cause, what created you to be toxic. And then step number 2 is figure out why aren't you detoxifying on its own? Because your body wants to detoxify. If you eat bad sushi, it wants to detoxify you within minutes, not weeks or months or years, right? That's why you get on the porcelain throne there and, poop your guts out for the next couple of days. And meanwhile, you're mad at your body for having to go through that. But your body's like, what are you talking about, dude? I am detoxing you and saving your life right now, because if those toxins stay in us, they are going to kill us, right? So your body knows how to detoxify. It wants to detoxify. But if it doesn't have the raw materials, the resources, the nutrients to be able to drive that process, it's going to be impaired, and you're going to accumulate toxins over time. Gastrointestinal stress, okay, what causes that? Bacterial overgrowth. So you have trillions of bacteria in your digestive system. So if there's an increase in an abnormal kind, so a common example would be strep or E. coli. Both strep and E. coli are normal in your body. They're absolutely, they would be found in every single healthy individual. But when you get tested, let's say for a strep throat or a strep infection, all right, or a person has E. coli, well, they always had those things, but now they have what they're essentially saying without saying is that there is an abnormal overgrowth of those bacteria, and it's beginning to cause problems. So antibiotics will absolutely do it. They found that one round of an antibiotic can screw up and has a strong possibility of destroying your digestive system function for 1 year. Most people that I meet before they get smart or learn the truth get at least a round of antibiotic once a year or more. So you might literally have 40 years of gut damage going on inside of your body right now, which is crazy. Sugar and alcohol do it. Eating on the go. So when you're eating and not just sitting down and resting, if you're eating while you're traveling, or you literally eat in like 5 minutes every single meal and not taking time to properly digest and chew your food, that puts abnormal stress on your gut, and then it breaks down faster. Pain medications like aspirin and Tylenol and ibuprofen, they absolutely damage your digestive system. In fact, every single time you take an over-the-counter pain med, like again, Advil, Tylenol, or ibuprofen, you will actually hemorrhage a teaspoon of blood through your digestive system every single time you take even just one of those. And then damaging your spine will cause also gastrointestinal stress. So then we start seeing things like, of course, constipation, diarrhea, autoimmune disease, big one there. I'll show more of that in the next slide. Brain issues, actually, like difficulty concentrating, brain fog, so forgetting things, poor memory, skin issues, all those are actually typically gut issues. So the gut is a really big evaluating tool that we use to find a person's health problem if we suspect it. Because if you have it, it can lead to all kinds of other issues in the body, especially even brain and skin issues. So everyone has hopefully heard the term called leaky gut. All right, it's becoming more popular. My good friend, Dr. X, has been putting a lot of stuff on this here lately. But what happens is that if you think about your digestive system as a big tube and a big hose, which is kind of what it is, it's a specialized hose, but you got one end where your mouth is and another end where your butt is, right? There's special cells that are attached together side by side, okay? Now, when you take pain pills, When you have antibiotics, all right, when you eat bad food, that creates inflammation in your gut and eventually starts damaging the cells and their connectivity. And so you can see there actually creates separation. So when we're talking about leakiness, okay, we're talking about things are now, instead of just passing through your system appropriately, parts of it are leaking out into your bloodstream. And then what you get is you get food intolerances, then you get food allergies, then you get your immune system starting to break down, and then you get autoimmune disease. So they're now finding that if you have an autoimmune condition, every single autoimmune condition has, at least as a major part of its cause, damage in the digestive system. And this is essentially the 2-minute version of what I just went over right there. That's what happens. So gut gets damaged. Now you got leaky gut. That leads to food intolerances, which means your immune system begins to attack normal things like food. So your immune system is getting worn out and it's getting overstimulated. Then you get immune abnormalities, you get autoimmunity. Stress hormone imbalances. So now we're talking about living in a society with chronic overstress. I mean, I don't care who you are. If you live in America, you are overstressed to some degree, right? So consequences. So our body is designed very well to handle short-term stress. If you are on a hike and all of a sudden you see a snake on the middle of the pathway, immediately your body jumps. The blood starts pumping, the muscles are ready to go, and you can run away from that snake or spider or whatever, or tiger, doesn't matter, very quickly. It can adapt to that in a second in an amazing way. But we live in a society where every morning we drive to work and we face traffic and stress from that. We have bills to pay. We have mortgages to pay. We have kids or grandkids that are unruly or not sleeping through the night, like our house right now, right? All of those things create long-term stress, which our body is not designed to handle that very well anyways. It can do it for a while, but not for very long. So now you're getting things like anxiety, depression. You gain weight because it starts creating too much cortisol. You're getting pain in your body, sleeping issues, big time for stress hormone imbalances. Digestive issues, right? Because when you're stressed, your stomach hurts. Chronic fatigue because your body is just worn out. Your cholesterol goes up because it's trying to compensate for that. Your blood sugar goes up, so you get diabetes, okay? So it's chronic long-term stress issues, which I would honestly say every single person has that to some degree, okay? You have all of this to some degree going on in your body right now. The key is to get a handle on it, though, before it starts giving out and breaking down and wearing out. And then lastly is going to be fatty acid imbalance. So everybody on here has heard of omega-3s, omega-6s. And with that, if you get too much or too little of those nutrients, it creates imbalance in your body. Now, most people are omega-3 deficient and omega-6 dominant because most processed foods are going to have more omega-6s. And that creates imbalance in the body, and it creates heart disease, cardiovascular disease, arthritis, and damaging your joints. So here's the cool part. All of those things that I just talked about can be tested and they can be measured with a simple urine test. So the CMA test, that stands for the Customized Metabolic Assessment. This is what I do on myself at least once a year to see how well is my body functioning on the inside. So it provides a very detailed view into how your body functions. So we use this test. I use this test clinically, not only when people have a disease or condition to figure out the cause of why they have it, why their body's aging prematurely, why they're having the symptoms that they're having, why they have the disease that they have, because we want to figure out the cause of that. What was the initial dysfunction that led to the presenting now problem? See, medicine will just look for the problem, and then they'll give you a drug to cover up the problem or do a surgery to cut out the problem, versus what we want to know is why did the problem develop in the first place? We can correct that. Then the symptom or the disease the aging prematurely, all that will go away. It has to. The body knows how to heal itself. So, medicine will focus on the symptoms, right? Like the symptom of the depression, the symptom of the headache, the symptom of the weight gain or gas or whatever. We want to know is what are the underlying factors of those issues, because unless you can identify those, you're not preventing it from getting worse, and you're actually going to be creating disease faster in your body, because as you know now, medications, right, are one of the main causes of inflammation, toxicity, and damage in the body. So if you have fatigue, we want to know, why are you fatigued? You're not just fatigued because if you weren't born tired, right? There's a reason why you're fatigued all the time. Why do you have depression? Let's figure that out. There's a cause to your depression. It's not a lack of Paxil or antidepressant. There's a reason why you have it, and there's a problem in your brain chemistry, and that can be tested. Pretty cool. So allows us, and this is one of my favorite tools to use for people that I believe are taking too many supplements. It's not often, but I do have people that will come into my clinic with bags full of supplements that they're taking, and they don't know why they're taking it. They're just taking it because some doctor, or they read it on the internet or whatever, and we'll run the test on them. We find out they don't need half or sometimes even more than half of them because their body actually tested just fine for that nutrient. So it helps to eliminate the need for wasting money on supplements and vitamins and all that kind of stuff that may be necessary for some people, but maybe not necessary for that person. And also, one of the major things I personally use it for is if I have anything that shows up to be deficient or too much, it allows me to customize what I'm eating with my diet, because certain foods are going to help address those issues more specifically than just a generic diet. So I'll give you an example of that in a second here. So the CMA test is more specifically known as the organic acids test. Again, it gives us a look into your cellular metabolic processes and how well, and when we talk about metabolic, I'm not just saying your metabolism, although it does look at that. Metabolism or metabolic function just simply refers to how well or how poorly your cells are working. And remember, you're made up of 70 trillion cells, 70 trillion cells, as healthy as your cells are. Okay, so if you have sick cells, you're sick. If you have dysfunctional cells, you're dysfunctional. If you have healthy cells, you'll be healthy. So we can identify the metabolic blocks that it can be treated nutritionally. So we can get very specific on treating your body. All right. It looks at 46 different tests in there, and it's a simple overnight urine collection test. So you literally just pee in a cup at your house first thing in the morning. You freeze the sample, and then you ship it off FedEx. Okay, and you can even get a courier to pick it up. All right, and then we get the results. So you don't have to go to a doctor physically to get this. You don't have to do an expensive blood test or a painful test. Right? You pee in a cup, freeze the sample, and then you send off that sample. It gets read by a lab in Asheville or in Atlanta, Georgia, and we get the results very quickly. Then we can make you a customized therapeutic protocol, right? So, I mean, this is just a generic example right here, but it's like, okay, well, so you had B vitamin, here's how much B vitamin you need to take based on your testing results. Or maybe you showed up as being severely deficient in CoQ10, and that's why you're aging faster, right? So again, just an example on that. We give a customized protocol for that. Now here's where the real fun comes in, is then it's like, okay, well, based on what you're doing, you need to be eating more B vitamin rich foods. So a person might say, oh, well, I eat spinach. Well, if you're showing up still as being deficient in these B vitamins, well, then I know you're not eating enough spinach for your basic dietary needs, right? Or maybe you're showing, again, just as an example, low in glycine, okay, amino acids. So it's like easy. Well, foods that are high in glycine are things like seaweed, fish, and almonds. So guess what? We can have you eat more of those foods, and it's going to help us, again, specifically customize what you should be eating, not just like, oh, I'm eating healthy. Well, sometimes that can be, you can be eating healthy, but not eating healthy specifically for you. So I kind of covered this here, but we're looking at correcting cause of your body, not only if it has a problem, but hopefully identifying before it's a problem. So the test Actually, let me show you my test results here real fast here. Give me 1 second. Here was my test results. Yeah, okay, I think you can see this here. Here was my test results, and this is just the summary page. You can get an idea. So, I was looking at fatty acid metabolism, so how well I could break down fat, carbohydrates metabolism, so how well you break down carbohydrates, energy production, B vitamin deficiencies, methylation, which I'm not going to go into, but that's a vital measurement of chronic disease. Neurotransmitters, so that's all brain health, oxidative damage, which you heard me talk about, antioxidants, detoxification capabilities, abnormal bacteria, and then all the rest of them are gut health related factors. So this is my test about a year ago that I ran, and I've been living healthy lifestyle for at least 10 years at this point. And it was super interesting for me is I found that out that I literally, even though my diet was massively high in fat, I had a really hard time breaking down fat, okay? My fatty acid metabolism actually sucked. And so I was wondering why all my friends that were eating a high fat diet were talking about all the benefits of like having great energy and great brain health and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, literally, I'm not experiencing that, but I'm going to keep doing it because I know the science is sound. So what I did was, it was simple. I just started supplementing with carnitine, okay, in my diet, carnitine here. And I retested, I should have done it faster than a year later here, but that's my taxes. And it was improved, but I'm still having a deficiency. So guess what? So I actually was slacking on my carnitine supplementation. So I was able to retest and get back. By the way, if you see my carbohydrate metabolism here, it's the reason why it's showing up as an abnormality is because I'm in ketosis right now, which is actually, I want to be there, but it's just, a person can be, if a person can be in ketosis because they're, and if they're, because they're not eating a proper diet, and that means there's a severe problem in their body. That's why it shows up on here, but that wasn't me for that. So don't need my tax returns. But another interesting thing for me was that I was having an issue actually detoxifying because I had a high exposure to glycine, which comes from like car exhaust, which I lived in Atlanta for a while, so lots of pollution there. But the cool thing is I got on some detoxifying agents, and look at that, it came back with that. Now, I could show you some other. In fact, I just ran a test on someone the other day, and they had like 30 different markers going on in their body, which was really scary. 30 out of like 42. Not just wonder why the treatment of your symptoms for the rest of your life is not working. So this test, it could be seen as an expensive. It is $3.99. All right, and that for people that do it through me, that includes the consultation afterwards, so actually like going over the action plan. And really, if you think about the value, because it tests over 46 different things, it's actually like only $9 per marker. So it tests a lot of things. That's kind of why I guess it's expensive there. We don't have to retest, but I usually recommend retesting ideally, especially if if there's not a lot of issues, we don't need to retest right away. If there's a lot of issues, we do it 90 days later. It is cheaper to get it retested, so it's $100 less to do that because you already have an account open with them. And of course, this is going to vary a lot, but a typical protocol for supplements, as a really, really, really severe case might be $200 or $300 a month in supplements because they might need 5 to 10 different things to get their body out of crisis quickly. And we can, of course, just pick the highlights if needed, or maybe $100 if there's just 1 or 2 things that are needed for that. And then again, we look at then just kind of making sure that the body is fixed. Now, everybody feels better when we go through these protocols, but again, we're always looking at what can we measure in order to be able to get your body to be functioning and healing as absolutely well as possible. So that test, if you don't live locally here, of course I have it in my clinic. You could take it home tomorrow if you wanted it. If you don't live locally, because I know I have a lot of out-of-towners, if you email me at this email, which is another one of my email addresses, but it's just a separate thing for different functions on how I use it. So if you email at info@drgregbarnes.com and to say you're interested in doing that organic acid test, what we'll do, again, if you're out of this city